All right, welcome back. Sean Leslie with you here. Hour 4 of the program here on CKNW News Talk. Right now I want to talk about millennials and trying to keep millennials with your company, with your business, and that can be a tough thing to do because turnover among the millennial generation is a big problem facing a lot of bosses, employers, businesses across this country. In fact, 91% of the millennial generation expect to stay in their current job fewer than 3 years. That leads to a lot of turnover that managers and owners have to deal with. Some companies can't afford to keep up the pace. We are joined by Dov Baron, communication expert and elite mind strategist specializing in the psychology of high-performance leadership. Dov, hi, how are you?
Good, thank you, Sean. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I like to say I'm only an average-level mind strategist, so it's good to talk to an elite one. I'm just teasing. Tell me about the extent of the problem we're talking about here, Dov. Turnover among millennials, a real problem for some businesses?
It's a huge problem, and it's a growing problem. In fact, there was a worldwide survey with CEOs, and they said it was the number one problem was finding and keeping top talent. Because millennials, just as you were saying earlier, they just don't stick around. The 20-year career is dead.
I've been hearing that for many, many years from the other side with companies, Dov, saying, well, forget about a job for life with us. You're lucky to have a job at all.
Absolutely. I mean, so millennials now, the longest they're going to last inside your company is about 4 years, but their average time is 1.2 to 2 years.
Really?
Think about what it costs to train those people.
So you just get them trained up, just get them sort of past their probation and actually maybe becoming productive, Dov, and then they move on.
That's exactly what happens. You spend all that money on developing them, and then they take their skills somewhere else. This is a brutal problem because you're spending 1.5 to 2 times their average salary on training them. So think about that. You've got the ROI is 2 years before you get anything back, and then they're gone.
Now, you have a book out, Fiercely Loyal, How High-Performing Companies Develop and Retain Top Talent. Dov, tell us about this, and about going the full Monty to try to address this issue.
Yeah, that is the name of the new book. It's called Fiercely Loyal, and it is actually hitting the bookshelves on Tuesday. I'm happy to say, very excited about that. And in the book, we talk about, of course, about millennials and keeping them loyal. And as you just said, one of the things that we talk about that's necessary is for you to go full Monty. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that every CEO in the world goes naked. Might be entertaining for the staff, particularly if they're out of shape. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is going full Monty, meaning stripping down the status, the titles, coming out from behind the ideas that there's a hierarchy and revealing oneself. This is the kinds of things that keep millennials loyal.
Well, you talk about vulnerability, and that's not a word I would think most people would associate with the workplace. Where does vulnerability come in?
It's a total shocker for most people. When you think about vulnerability, we particularly those of us who are Generation X or baby boomers, we were told that vulnerability is a weakness. Vulnerability is an absolute strength in leadership today, meaning that you have to be willing to reveal who you are, and not just as in, I'm married and have 2 kids. Like, you have to be willing to reveal more personal things. Here's an example of it. Think about your best friend, anybody that you are really close friends with. You're close friends with that person because they know about you and because you know about them. You trust them because of the vulnerability that's been shared between the two of you. That trust is what builds the loyalty. So in order to have the trust, to have the loyalty, you have to have the trust. And in order to have the trust, you have to have vulnerability.
But does that, because, let me just play devil's advocate here, Dov, because, I've heard the old cliche, we're not here to be your friends. We're not here to be friends. We're here to get a job done. So are you telling bosses that they have to be all chums and pals with their employees?
See, that whole idea, we're not here to be your friends, it's done. It's done. So millennials, it's really simple. So here's the big clue for everybody. If you think about this, because actually it just came up in your news item before, we were talking about vaccines and how young people don't trust big corporations.
Right, yes.
They don't trust them, so why would we trust somebody who doesn't tell us anything about who they are? We want transparency. We want it in the leader and in the organization. So that idea of, oh, well, this we're not here to be your friends. Yes, we are. This is all about relationship. In fact, in my book, one of the things I say is, whatever your title is, so it's CEO or CFO, because I deal with the C-suite individuals, whatever that title is, you need a new one, and it's called CRO, Chief Relationship Officer.
Really?
On top of all the others. Yes, you've got relationship is number one. You want to keep your talent loyal to you. You've got to become masterful at relationship.
Are executives buying into this stuff? What kind of response are you getting to this?
It's mind-blowing. I mean, of course, a lot of them have initial resistance, and there will be. I mean, I'm going to be real honest about it. There's going to be people who are going to hang on with every fiber of their being to the old model. But those are the dinosaurs, and there's a great comet coming that will knock out the dinosaurs. It's called the Millennials. They're going to kill it, man. Well, here's the deal. The largest workforce ever to enter into the workforce is happening this year, 2015, and it's millennials. 10,000 baby boomers a day are dropping out of the workforce. So you can't play like you're dealing with baby boomers anymore. If you do, you go out of business. No talent, you don't have a business anymore. And we're not in the manufacturing world anymore. This is the world of information.
Okay, but some are going to say, well, why would we want millennials anyway? They're these lazy, self-centered gits who just want to spend all day on their technology and aren't going to work very hard. And I mean, that's the stereotype of the millennial generation, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. And the people saying that are going to be out of business. That's the simplicity of it. Because millennials are not that way. See, this is part of the illusion. They're not all selfish and entitled. What they are is fast learners, multitaskers. Yes, they've grown up with extreme screen time, unlike us. So when we look at those things, we go, well, how can you concentrate? It's ridiculous. You can't. That's because you're looking at it through your lenses, not their lenses. And in their world, they learn faster. They want to move up their path faster, but they also want to do meaningful work. So where they stump their feet is if you want them to do something that has no meaning and no purpose. If you can show them the meaning and the purpose of what it is you're doing, and that's what we do with our organizations, we show them how to actually become a purpose-driven company. And by the way, this is not new. Jim Collins in his books, Good to Great, talked about how the companies that have lasted are the companies that are purpose-driven. It's not that new. It's what works.
It's fascinating stuff. Your book is coming out. I know you don't want to give it all away, because you got to make a little bit of money selling this thing. But can I ask you, what are the 4 C's of a fiercely loyal corporate culture?
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about, the 4 C's, and that all fiercely loyal corporate cultures have to adopt. And I'll just give you a quick sort of overview of them. One of them is cooperation, collaboration, contribution, and community. And I'll walk you through what each one of those means. Cooperation. It means that you cooperate with the people inside your organization. So you're developing people who are intrapreneurs. No, so not entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs. So they're developing their own things inside of your organization, and you encourage that. That's the millennials want to do their own thing. Yeah, well, let them do it inside of your company. It will add to your company.
Yeah.
Collaboration. This is a neat one. Collaboration, because that old mindset that we used to have, which is, oh, my competition, I've got to beat the competition. In the new world of business, there is no competition. Everybody is a potential ally. Collaborate with them, find out how you can serve better, and come together. Contribution. Contribution is, if you want to keep millennials loyal to you, again, as I was saying before, they have to have a really clear sense that you are contributing something to the world other than what it is that you do, that there's an add-on, that there's something that you're benefiting society with, which leads to community. If you want your company to have a fiercely loyal culture, then they have to be community-driven, both locally and globally. And the companies that are doing super well are the ones that have these community programs. They've done super well with them because they engage millennials. And this is the interesting thing. You talk about the stereotype of millennials stomping their feet and being really entitled. Well, explain this then. How come more millennials volunteer more time than any other generation?
Great question. And that's a good point. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense if they're all entitled, but what do they volunteer their time to? They volunteer their time to the things I'm talking about. community, that they care about the planet, that they care about the community they're in. So if you want to keep them loyal to your company, that's what you better be about.
Dov, I have to leave it there. Good luck with the book. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sean. Great being here. And again, look out for it. It's going to be hitting the stores on Tuesday, February 17th. Fiercely Loyal. Thank you,
the book is called Fiercely Loyal. Dov Baron, communication expert, the author. We'll check in on the Canada Winter Games up in Prince George up next here on CKNW News Talk 980.